Hello and welcome to The Game Plan, where we bring you in-depth analysis of the greatest game of all you won't find anywhere else. I'm Zac Bailey, joined by Anthony Seibold. Our attention turns to State of Origin Game 2, one of the biggest games of the year and one of the biggest moments in Reece Walsh's life. He's been sworn in under Paul Green. Can he handle this occasion?
Well, he certainly won't be overawed. He's a very confident kid, having worked with him at the Broncos last year. We promoted him into the NRL squad full time, and he had all the confidence in the world. Very skillful player. The big challenge for him will be defensively. You know, your fullback is a defensive captain, so making sure that he gets his line organisation correct will be a real big key for Reece on Sunday night.
All right, so he's only 19 years of age. He's only 7 games into his NRL career, and he's got some great highlights when it comes to his attack. Against the West Tigers, he was untouchable, really. Yeah,
he had a field day against the Tigers a few weeks ago on both sides of the field as well. This time he's on the Warriors' left-hand side, playing up a short side, 4v4, chose the right option. This time he's out the back of shape. On the Warriors' right-hand side, again, great pass to Tuivasa-Sheck. And the thing I like about Reece is this: he's got the skill level to be able to execute passes on both sides of the field, but also his running threat is, I see, as the biggest weapon in his game. So on Sunday night, you know, when the Blues start to get a little bit tired, I can see Reece popping up on the inside option or inside shoulders of ball players and really posing a threat there for the Queensland team.
They're big plays in NRL footy. What about when he's thrown into the Origin Arena, Suncorp Stadium, 40-odd thousand screaming fans, although they'll be screaming for him? Can he still pull off those same plays?
Well, he's not going to have as much time, so the game's going to be very quick. You know, we saw in Origin 1, it was a very fast-paced game, and the Blues led that. So, again, my biggest, or the biggest challenge I see for Reece is to get his defensive organisation sorted out. One of the key points when we reviewed Origin 1 was New South Wales liked to get the edge-back rowers in the tackle, so the 4 in defenders in the tackle, and then they wanted to get up the keep-going side. So for Reece, he needs to lock the keep-going or lock the short side. So if New South Wales had 4 there, he needs to put 4 defenders there, and then you know, that which happens at pace, but that's what he needs to do: lock the keep-going, then lock the front door.
So he's only young in terms of age and first-class rugby league experience. From your time working with him at Brisbane, does he have what it takes to be that director in defence?
Yeah, as I said, he won't be overawed, and he'll be very confident. I don't think he'll go into the camp and go into his shell. They do have less preparation. You know, this time they'll have 2 main sessions, which we think will be Wednesday and Thursday of this week, leading into Sunday night's game. So there won't be as much preparation time. Probably won't get an opportunity to socialise too much with the Maroons guys, because they'll get straight back into work because of the shortened preparation. But he'll go in there full of confidence. Is he ready for it? Well, we'll find out on Sunday night. But the big key for Reece Walsh is getting his line organisation sorted for the Queensland team.
Okay, the Maroons, they were dubbed the worst team in history last year. They pulled off a series win with a great win in Game 3. How did they do it?
Yeah, what they did early in the game, they moved the New South Wales forwards around the field, and it started. This is the second play of the game. Munster had a real running mindset to his game in Game 3 last year. So him and Christian Walsh connected really early in the game, and you can see again, there's Christian Walsh passing to Munster. Now, what they wanted to do was they wanted to move the Blues forwards around. So essentially the guys who are on the inside of Nathan Cleary there want to move him around the park. And what they did was they shifted the footy to Gagai. Now, Gagai played as a left centre last year, which is his club position for the Rabbitohs team. And I do think they should move Dane Gagai over to the left-hand side of the field. Now, they shifted wide early in the game, but as they came into the second half, they decided to, or they looked like they wanted to drop Gagai back underneath, or him coming back underneath. So again, if I just point out the forwards here, so there's Frizzell all the way to Junior Paulo there. They're working really hard when they shift the ball. But what they started to do was Gagai started to come back underneath and find those tired forwards. And it wasn't necessarily about him making a line break, but he put fatigue into the New South Wales Blues forward pack. And then Harry Grant, you can see there Damien Cook not set up marker. Harry Grant started to have a field day running off the back of Gagai coming back through the middle of the park. And as I said, they opened the Blues up a number of times doing that. You'll see another example here. There's Munster, and you'll see Gagai. Gagai wants to come back underneath through this part of the field again to target the New South Wales Blues. You can see Paulo, Trebojevic, Cook, Finucane and Tyson Frizzell in the picture there. That's who he's targeting. So he comes back underneath the Blues. There's fatigue put into the Blues by making them move. And again, you'll see Dane Gagai takes 2 or 3 guys to put him down. They open up the front door and they kept knocking on the front door. So, there's Jai Arrow coming through the middle third of the park, and it allowed Harry Grant, who I think Ben Hunt will play like Harry Grant. That'll be Ben Hunt on Sunday night. If they can move the Blues forwards around, put fatigue into them, and then come back through the front door. And you can see the momentum that it made for the Maroons side in Game 3 of last year. Fantastic football here, but they put fatigue into the Blues.
This was Harry Grant's first ever Origin match, and he was a superstar. Him and Munster just completely tore through the Blues. How can Ben Hunt have the same impact? Because he doesn't seem as explosive as Harry Grant around the ruck.
Yeah, I think what they'll do is Andrew McCulloch's a super defender, so I think they'll play Andrew McCulloch for the first 25 minutes, and I can see Ben Hunt coming on after 25 minutes and playing, the rest of the game. And what I see from Ben Hunt is running. I think Ben Hunt plays his best football when he thinks run first, which is obviously a strength of Harry Grant's. So again, he doesn't necessarily have the skill set of Harry Grant and doesn't necessarily play the same, but you can see there when the Blues forwards started to get some fatigue put into them by the Maroons shifting the ball side to side and then coming back through that middle third, Harry Grant had a field day. I think Ben Hunt's got to go out there onto the field when they have possession and ask some questions through that front door.
So just there we saw from the very second play, the first clip, you said that they shift the ball early.
Yeah.
In Origin 1 this year, where the Blues were on top, they went through the middle early and the Maroons were on the back foot. So if the Blues do that again, is there any way that the Maroons can employ that same game plan?
Yeah, well, I think last year New South Wales had a bigger forward pack, and I know Junior Paulo looks likely to start this Sunday night's game, and he's a big body. But last year they had a super big pack. Now they've gone for a little bit more of a mobile pack this year with regards to team selection, and I think last year the plan from the Queensland coaching staff looked as though they wanted to move the forwards, make them run side to side, not necessarily make them get into tackles, but move them from side to side. And then once they put fatigue in them, come back through that middle third. As you said, the Blues had a little bit of a different theory in Game 1. They used their outside backs really effectively coming through that middle third. But I think Queensland can shift the Blues forwards around a little bit. And like I said, the longer the game goes, if they've got some equal possession or more than equal possession, then they can put some fatigue into the Blues team.
So Cam Munster featured in a couple of those clips there, rightfully so. He was brilliant last year. But what does he have to do in Game 2? Because he said in Game 1 he was 80 or 90% off where he wanted to be. He was well underdone. He's got a couple of games under his belt after suffering a couple of injuries in the lead up to Origin 1. Can he still have as big a game in this game as he did last year?
I think so, and he's got to think run first. So I read over the last couple of weeks, Wayne Bennett's challenge to Cameron Munster before Origin 3 was to run the football, and he's at his best when he runs the footy. And we saw him have 18 runs last year in Game 3, and he took the line on. And you can see here, it didn't matter whether it was as a first or second receiver or even getting the dummy half. He just thought run first. Now, he carries the ball in his left arm. He's got a fantastic right arm fend. There he is taking the line on. So again, he doesn't get through there, but he's asking questions. So the Blues defenders have to work really hard because they can't take any shows. You can see there, think of that as Ben Hunt jumping off the back of any time Munster runs. He'll create instability in the defensive line. Hunt's got to think run first.
And one thing that Paul Green wasn't happy about after Game 1 was the finishing to their sets.
Yeah, that's right. So what Munster did really well, he built pressure. But not only did he build pressure with the end of sets, which we'll show in a tick, he built pressure by asking some questions through that middle third. You can see Corey Allen, the fullback for the Maroons in Game 3 last year, pushing up through that middle third. But he connected really well, Munster. Took the line on. He's got an offload. He's got a fantastic passing game. But he's got to think run first, which you can see in the pictures here.
So how much does that difference make when he says that, I was well underdone for Game 1, a couple of games under his belt? The series is on the line though, and they're coming off their biggest ever loss to the Blues.
Yeah, look, he'll be better for that experience in Game 1. I think Cameron Munster's been used to winning and winning well with the Melbourne Storm over a long period of time. He wouldn't have been in any team that's been beaten by that amount before. So, he probably was a little bit underdone. He's had a game against, the West Tigers on the weekend under his belt now as well. I think he'll be much better prepared. And they do need him to be at his best because, as we said, not only his running game threatened the Blues last year, one of the other things they did to put fatigue into the Blues was they built pressure with their end of set. So you can see Munster there, left foot kick, great little dink over the top there, but again, that builds pressure on the Blues forward pack there. And again, left foot kick, high kick on Josh Adokar last year to get up the challenge. But those end of sets put fatigue into the Blues because they got the ball back often. And you can see here, and this is 9 minutes into the second half, you can see Jake Trbojevic and Tyson Frizzell, the body language 9 minutes into the second half because the Maroons game plan off shifting them side to side, then as they put fatigue in, coming back through the middle third, but then also the kicking game of Munster and Cherry Evans in Game 3 last year. It built pressure, and I'm sure Paul Green wants to see that building pressure on Sunday night, because it will put fatigue into the Blues team.
We speak about big moments in big games, and Munster is one of those big game players that pulls those plays off. Is he capable of doing that when the Maroons are on the back foot like he did in times last year?
Yeah, well, obviously, going forward, or if the Maroons forwards are going forward, Munster's going to have more time. When it's on the back foot, it is a little bit harder for him. But what I think him and Cherry Evans may do is, if they're on the back foot, kick early. Try and turn the Blues around and put pressure on Tedesco in the back three with regards to making them come out of the backfield. So that's one thing I would be doing. If he's not getting front footy, him and Cherry Evans need to kick the ball early and get down there and turn the big Blues pack around.
We talk about big Origin plays and those big moments. He pulled off 2 plays in Origin 3 that you've highlighted that really separated the Maroons from the Blues.
Yeah, it was really special. Now, again, we'd love to see this from Munster, a packed Suncorp Stadium on Sunday evening. But this is special. Again, there's no need for analysis here. This is special skill. There's that right fan, brilliant left foot kick. There, kicks, without the ball bouncing again. That's special football. But what it did, again, it built pressure on the back three there for the New South Wales Blues team. And this is the part I like. That's a restart tackle. So you can see referee Sutton there, giving 6 again. Munster's vision. If I just take it back a little bit, he's actually looking out here. He's looking to see where their space is and where there's faces. And this is brilliant execution, brilliant thinking, and very brave to actually, execute this particular kick. It's a bit of a wonky kick, but he knew where the space was. And obviously, Edric Lee finishes for the Maroons team last year.
You spoke about the importance of the Maroons being on the front foot. They lost Christian Walsh inside 13 minutes in game 1. He'll be back hopefully for this whole match for Queensland's sake, and also Josh Papali'i.
Yeah.
He is their forward leader. What difference does he make? Not only in attack, because he does those, those tough carries, and it's 1-2 punch with him and Walsh, but also defensively in that new combination up front.
Yeah, Papali'i brings a big presence to the team. Obviously, he was suspended for game 1, but he's been playing State of Origin since 2014, and having worked with him in a couple of different camps, he's got a real presence to him. He's aggressive and hard running when he carries the ball, but also on the other side of the football. You've been hit by Papali'i when he hits you. So I think he brings that presence to the middle third for the Maroons. And Christian Walsh, in my opinion, is one of the best forward defenders in our game. He's very good with all the areas in defence that don't require any talent. So things like inside pressure, kick pressure, filling the space when the ball goes away, third man getting into the legs. He does all those little things that often you don't appreciate until you actually coach him or play in the same team as Christian. So I think they're 2 big inclusions, and they've got a presence about them.
So Paul Green's gone with those 3 middles in McCulloch, Walsh and Papali'i. How much will they stiffen up the Maroons pack? Yeah,
Andrew McCulloch's weapon is his defence. Again, he makes over 50 tackles most weeks for his club side. And again, he's very much an effort area player. So I think what Paul Green's looked at is putting his best defensive side on the field to start the game, and then bring on players like Fafita, who, again, if Maroons have got an even share or more than an even share of possession, then he's a damaging player. But I think he's gone for his best defensive forward pack to start.
One force change for the Blues, Jake Trbojevic, he'll miss game 2. Junior Paulo will start up front. We've got Angus Crichton, the new man, on the bench. But one of the Blues' strengths in game 1 was Payne Haas 1 carry, Junior Paulo another, and that 1-2 punch is so strong for the bench. They lose a fair bit with Junior Paulo starting, don't they?
Yeah, they do, because I thought after 20 minutes, a fresh Payne Haas and a fresh Junior Paulo coming at the Queensland side was really hard for them to defend against. They created an enormous amount of instability in the defensive line for the Queensland team with their carries. And, they won't have that presence coming off the bench. Angus Crichton, obviously a very good player. He's a State of Origin level player, but predominantly plays as an edge back row for his club side, as does Liam Martin. Liam Martin, generally speaking, comes off the bench and goes to right edge back row for the Panthers team. So they're not 2 players who are that familiar with playing through the middle. They can do a good job there, no doubt, but there's not a bigger presence. Like Payne Haas is the only big man essentially coming off the bench through that middle third of the field. So Junior Paulo, outstanding player, obviously deserves his starting position, but it was scary, Junior Paulo and Payne Haas coming off the bench in game 1.
So with that in mind, with Crichton and Liam Martin not being genuine middle players, in your opinion, would you have played Dale Finucane instead? Yeah,
Dale Finucane, I would have him in my 17 at whatever level, whether it's as a starting middle or coming off the bench with some impact. But again, you saw his performance against the West Tigers last weekend as outstanding on both sides of the football. But I just think he's a player that's suited the State of Origin, and it just probably shows the strength in the New South Wales Blues team at the moment, the depth in their team, that Dale is on an extended bench. But I would have had him in the 17 somewhere, there's no doubt, but they've got a very good side and they performed exceptionally well in game 1. But it's good for Dale to be in the Blues team, the extended team, but I'd have him in my 17.
Would you start him, and then that way you could have Payne Haas and Paulo still have that 1-2 punch?
Yeah, I think Dale Finucane is not dissimilar to Jake Trbojevic. You know, they both are very good defenders. They work really hard. They both got a short passing game. So I would have gone like for like there, put Dale in for Jake Trbojevic, and then left Junior Paulo coming off the bench with Payne Haas. But again, Freddie's got quite a few options there, and none of them are incorrect. But Dale Finucane's a pretty special player, and I think he's made for State of Origin. One
of the big changes that Paul Green has made, obviously Reece Walsh is the biggest talking point, but he's dropped David Fifita to the bench. Why do you think that would be?
I think it'd be because David needs to improve his defence in some aspects. In game one, he missed 4 tackles. And, I think, as I said before, I think Paul Green's looked at what's his best defensive forward pack to start the game. You know, when the game is the defensive part of the game is at its most important. That's the start of the game. And, having Jai Arrow there on the edges with Felice Kafusi, I think he's gone for a stronger defensive mindset there. And David Fifita, he'll be a weapon off the bench, no doubt about that. It will be hard if they're on the back foot, though, for David to come on and really turn the game. But if they've got some possession, they've put a little bit of fatigue into the Blues, David coming off the bench fresh, he'll be a handful, there's no doubt about that, but I just think they've gone for their best defensive side.
Regardless of how good this Maroons defensive unit might be from the kickoff in game 2, you know where this is going right now. How on earth do they stop Tom Trbojevic? Because it doesn't matter what position he plays, fullback or centre, doesn't matter who the opposition is at NRL level or Origin level, he is just completely dominating. And his latest performance against the Titans just proved that he popped up everywhere across the field and they didn't have the answers to him in the second half.
No, he's an outstanding player. I use the analogy, put him in a phone box. So by that, you've just got to create him with numbers. You can't give him space. I thought the edge defenders for the Maroons side in game 1 were very passive on on Tom Trbojevic. And if you look at last weekend's game against the Titans, I thought they were very passive as well. Now, the shape that I'm going to show you is the exact same shape, but on the other edge of the field as to Tom Trbojevic is trying game 1. So what you'll see here, again, we've pointed out this a number of times this year. That's the winger there. That's the 2-in defender there. And what Brad Parker for the Manly team is, he's trying to get at the inside shoulder of the 2-in defender to try and turn him in, which gives Tom Trbojevic a 2v1 situation out back. Now, have a look at the Gold Coast winger. He's on the end of the line, so he's in good positioning. Tom Trbojevic is flat at the back of shape, so you want to go and jam him. You can't be passive. Have a look as the clip runs through. He's passive and trying to, slide to the sideline on the end of the edge defence there. What he needed to do was he needed to come forward. As I said, Tom is quite narrow at the back of shape there. He's quite flat, and that's not a long way for him to go and jam. So he needs to go and shut it down. So think back to Kyle Felt in game 1. He was very passive close to the line. So I think Valentine Holmes and Kyle Felt need to be more aggressive with their edge D if they're going to run leads inside the 2-in defender, which is what the Blues did in game 1. But you can't be passive. So that's Tom going over for a try himself. Very same shape. Again, you'll see Brad Parker there. Now Brad Parker's going to be leading inside the 2-in defender here, and Tom's out the back of shape. Now have a look at Tom's depth. He's actually very flat, so it's not a long way for the Titans winger to go and jam. Now this time, he does think about jamming, but if you have a look at his positioning, I've spoken about this before, he's actually stepped back. He's about a metre or 2 step back on the end of the line. He needed to be up flat. And if he was up flat, it would give him time to go and shut down Tom Trbojevic. But because he's deep and jamming from step back, it gives Tom time, and he's a very skillful player. And you can see, Garrett goes across in the corner there.
But it's just the natural presence, though, of Tom Trbojevic to put the defence in 2 minds. It's easy to say you've got to jam, but it must be hard.
Put him in a phone box, mate. We've got to put him in a phone box.
Just get around him.
Yeah, and I think Maroons, if they're going to defend his threats, we've got to try and put him in a phone box. And the analogy I use is you need to do that because you've got to create him for time. You can't give him time and space. You saw Kyle Felt and Luke Capewell Kurt Capewell give him time in game 1. You can't give him time. The other threat he's got against a small fullback is this. I would imagine Nathan Cleary putting high balls up for Reece Walsh and getting Tom Trbojevic and Latrell Mitchell down there to contest the catch. Young Campbell's not very big, so Tom's able to get above him. Reece Walsh, not very big. Tom and Latrell will be able to get above him. So I think we'll see this. in game 2. I think they'll put the ball high and have those two big bodies go down to go down to contest the ball.
So then escorting there, we spoke about it in the game plan previously.
Yeah.
Escorting there is key. You've got to try and just get them off the ball legally.
Legally, yeah. Yeah, what you've got to do is protect the drop zone. So the drop zone is where the ball lands. You've got to try and protect the drop zone. You can't do it illegally. You can't run him off the footy as far as, drop a shoulder in. But you just got to protect the drop zone. And if they can do that, then it won't be as big of a handful for Reece Walsh. But I imagine them putting up really high bombs. Nathan Cleary's got a fantastic kick, and getting Latrell and Tom Trbojevic down there to contest the ball.
And we saw Tom roaming even as a centre in game 1, and even here he's playing the role of fullback. But even in game 1, he was saying to James Tedesco that the Blues captain, get out of my way, and he almost does it here. He's just orchestrating.
He's organising off the footy. Like, his early talk is outstanding. So what he's actually doing, if you see him running across to the left-hand side there for Manly, he's actually communicating through his hands and his voice, communicating what's going to happen here. Now, fantastic play, but if you back it up a little bit, it's not something that he's just making a decision there on the run. He's actually organising this. You can see him here, as I said, there he is using his hands and talking to both Brad Parker and Ruben Garrick there. Look at that there. Communicated to them and then executes. He's hard to stop, but you've got to crowd him. You've got to have inside pressure. The other thing about him, he spoke about after game 1, his bulldozing runs. Here he is close to the line, finds the young fullback there who's only a little guy. Again, he'll see Reece Walsh in the line. He'll target Reece Walsh in the line.
Okay, so he's the number 1 man to stop.
Yes.
Can the Maroons do it?
It's going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging. But again, you need field position and possession, which Queensland didn't have in game 1. But need an ounce of luck as well to go their way, Queensland, to win on Sunday night. But I like that idea of shifting the Blues forwards around. Then as they put fatigue in, coming back through that front door, through the middle third of the field, and Munster's got to run. Think run, Cameron.
All right, so Cam Munster, Tom Trbojevic, the 2 key players in game 2.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
All right, Siebes, as always, thanks so much for your analysis. Thanks for joining us for the game plan. We can't wait for State of Origin Game 2 at Suncorp Stadium on Sunday night.